my voice a little, folks. So apologize if you hear a distant cough in the background as I deal with my vocal cords there. We are on different sides now. So, Tristana, Renekton banned away. Rumble's still up on the table. That is kind of a no-go pick. You do not want to give that one over. Tarzan going to be respected with his Nidalee. And Wei is still starting for BLG, so no Shun sub in for game 2. Of course, BLG now playing 2 junglers. They did play Shun in their first game versus JDG, and he lost. Wei came back to win the last 2 games in that series. Wei now losing his first game on BLG. First pick, Yone for Knights. Now, Xiaohu, he played that TF mid last time. TF was made more powerful with the fact that they had such a good follow-up team with the Nidalee Spears, very good onto the gold card, and then also the Kai'Sa. You don't really have that same angle again. So, what are we going to see out of Xiaohu? Are we just going to see the Corki? It's fine into the Yone. I was wondering, with so many AD carries banned through in the first phase of the last bath, whether we'd see ourselves a LeBlanc, but with that TF blocked in, chances that goes towards Xiaohu again, could also go up towards Breathe. There's every chance of that.
Debating a Lilia here, Tarzan was an OG enjoyer of this champion when it first came out, was a real, I use this word again for Tarzan, menace on that particular champion. We've got a few very good Lilia players in the LPL, perhaps more than people remember, like Kanavi, of course, way back when, were very, very good at it. And of course, some of our latter day junglers, and the likes of Xiaohao, also been showing off a lot on it. Wei still in, not been subbed out, worth noting. Lock in the Sejuani. Kennen being debated and is locked in as well for BLG. Lots of team fight, lots of scary flank angles.
So what do you do now in this top lane? Because Bin is on a very lane dominant champion. You can go something like the Jace, which has been 369 in particular's answer, into that cannon. You outrange the cannon. Cannon wins a lot of top lane matchups by one, yes, he can build towards Leandries, he can kill tanks very effectively that way, but he just outranges all of the melees. Now the problem is, what happens if you outrange him? You can go towards that Jace, but I think seeing the fact that there is triple engage locked in already, playing a poor old Jace can suck. So Breed says, okay, I'm not going to take the winning lane matchup this time. I'm going to take the Kasante and just try and look to outvalue in team points, and also try and just maybe ult one of these big engages out of the play.
That'll be the plan. Whether that works out or not is a different matter, but you've got yourself a solid frontline. You've got yourself a scary pick already with the TF. It also feels like Xiaohu is pretty happy to play that one into the Yone, who, when he steps on forwards, eats a gold card and doesn't get to secure the full combo as easily as he might in another matchup.
One thing which I was really enjoying about Xiaohu playing that matchup last time too is like gold carding and then walking towards the spirits who can kind of keep trading if he wants the extended trade. Because if you get the gold card while Yone's in the E and you deny some of that E, a lot of Yone's trade power goes down, because a lot of how he gets good trades is by using that soul bound.
I mean, it just really reduces your vocabulary, right? Just less vowels to work with. He doesn't have an E.
He doesn't have an E, is it? Sure. Could you imagine speaking without using... Well, no, I've already used an E.
Yeah,
but imagine...
Spacking.
No,
Imagine.
No, but I can't use the E. How do you say imagine without the E?
Imagine?
Okay, look, first, look, I should really be using brain power on other things.
I'm sorry for this. This is my fault.
Like ADCs, they don't have an E in them.
Well, that's true.
So there's going to be a lot of that taken off the table. We still have Leona MF. No, we don't have the MF, but Leona Nautilus still available. Kai'Sa gone. Could go towards a Ziggs, but there's already a lot of magic damage on both teams because the cannon's on one side. I think BLG could maybe go towards that. I think that the Sana has a lot of value here. It gives Weibo a chance for another frontliner. It means they can overload on engage and unpick, because if you hit a Sana W or a gold card, the other one follows up. And now as that last pick, you can either look towards Ornn or Nautilus, or even something else if you particularly wanted to get frisky with it. So that's fine there.
Now BLG is saying, well, we could just match stacks with stacks and lock in a Smolder. Don't necessarily hate it, especially if you are trying to play towards the solo lane. Smolder is a champion that is once again starting to see a little bit of play. I call out like the likes of Lee who've been looking at it, but still a few other options available. The Zeri, of course, also comes to mind and is being hovered, so I think either option would make some sense. They decide to go towards the Zeri. They're looking at something to pair alongside it. On's Lulu back in the day was excellent. Might be a way of managing this, but Leona's still up, and surely that's the better call.
Well,
or the Rakan, right?
I think On's Rakan is where I'd first go with it, because you get to play quite lane dominant, but also have that engage and escape potential. So that's one thing. You could take away the Nautilus if you don't want Senna Nautilus to go through, but people have been prioritizing that Senna on anyway. I would have liked to see potentially that Rakan. Alistair comes through, which is better at shrugging off the initial picks. You can cleanse with your ultimate, but it's not the best in laning phase. I feel like you lose a lot of survivability compared to the Rakan too, weirdly in some cases as well. We'll have to see On justify this pick realistically as the expected Ornn comes in to round out the draft. Weibo, ample engage. They have the Ornn, they have the Lilia, they have the Senna and the TF gold card as well. So that's fine, particularly in terms of the pick potential, but they also have some AoE outside of that too. Whereas BLG, they have all of the AoE. They have themselves the top side combo of death, and then Zeri trying to get themselves into the fray while that CC and disruption is going down. Of course, Alistar very much helping with that too. BLG have all of the ability to pull the trigger and just kind of explode this team fight if they are given the angle on the flanks.
Yeah, if they get to level 11 on a couple items, the team fight gets absolutely foul. On the other side for Weibo Gaming, good pick, good scaling themselves, but their damage profile is a little bit more single target. It's a little bit more extended, bluntly, between the Senna and the TF. You really are going to need to be able to weather that storm of ice and lightning. Quite fire this time around with the champions drafted, but easier said than done. It was a good first game. It was an exciting first game. Weibo came out on top with some fantastic play out of Tarzan in the early game that allowed Light to take over with all the kills he was picking up. Big change in draft on both sides though. BLG, a lot more upfront burst, a lot more AoE team fight. Can they make it work? The light show begins to flare, and the best team in the LPL, question mark. Lose the first game, coming into the second game with a different look, and Weibo Gaming on the rise. The doubters, the haters be damned. They've been making this series exciting from the very first game. Game 2 starts right now. Chayo's still very loud indeed. There's some fan signs already out in force there. He's got a fairly solid following himself. A long-time player over his course on RNG for a long time. Moving mid-split to join BLG in unfortunate game 1 loss. Puts it in a difficult position here, doesn't it?
Yeah, and what's an expansion of that, folks? We have, you know, Wei from RNG, Xiaohu from RNG. We also have Bid and Breathe, who were part of that swap as well between MSI in 2022. So we have a big old reunion here, which we should really touch on here at this point. So many of these players are very, very like well known to each other. They are known quantities. Knight's going to get himself some level 1 XP from that ward, means he will hit level 2 off that first wave by getting all minions now. So, but that kind of familiarity between all players is just great to see.
I want to call it out as well. Breathe has gone for exhaust, not flash, because he knows what he's into in the side lanes. He needs to mitigate the cannon, mitigate potentially something like the Yone, and because Crisp has gone for spell, but they can now run double exhaust.
Yeah, so this is not for the laning phase. This is not for the individual match. Having Flash or Ghost is still better for the percentage because you need to stay on your target, but what it is better for is the team fights. We've seen JDG run Twisted Fate into Cannon specifically for that too. You can lose the individual matchup, but it means you get yourself double exhaust later into the game if you need to, which means that, yeah, you can either drop both onto multiple big engages, or you can get both at the same time on good level two-man combo there. We'll get some decent damage. Alistar has decent poke if you can consistently get combos and get out, but looking into those bigger team fights later on, Weibo will be on the defensive side compared to the offensive side that they were in game 1. That's going to be a big paradigm shift between these two teams. No Final Fantasy 13 involved. For those who remember the paradigm shift system, that is a raked game. Well, okay, the controversial game. I like the game. We'll leave it at that. Anyway, but the double exhaust allows them to play defensively very powerful here.
Try and be able to do that one, especially because there's so much damage on the combo from On. Flash for headbutt and gets Crisp into danger, will not quite burn down, stays alive.
And Crisp is probably, he has that teleport, he can go back. And I think what we're seeing right here is, so this is one of the reasons why we saw, I believe it was either Genji or D+, were playing the longsword start on the center, because you're still gonna be like suffering an early lane in some cases. In this case, it's not necessarily a problem to against the Zeri Alistar. It's not the most powerful laning phase. They get away with it, teleport back into lane for Crisp, and they will get themselves that first back of the game.
Yeah, Elf burn Flash as well there, though, and of course Crisp has a spellbook, so how many summoners are you really actually earning there? A Flash on the Ornn is nice, but I don't know how easy that's going to be to get huge amounts of value from, and could still prove problematic here as On will now step on forwards onto Crisp. Haven't left yet, still holding off on the reset.
Yeah, well, Crisp did use that teleport to get back into lane, so he's already used his ability to get back there now. Elkanon, they get themselves that wave crash to make sure that there's not going to be a slow push back, and they're kind of frozen out for a little while. That's kind of something that you want to avoid for as long as possible in bot lane. Elkanon back, getting himself a cull. He's happy with that one. And because Tarzan is playing much more for the power farming now, hasn't found an entrance into lanes, Elkanon are very happy to just leave an isolated lane there and look to scale up.
I don't know whether Wei got involved considering where the back was, but Breathe was forced to reset near his tier 2, only got to back with a null magic mantle and not the merc treads he was hoping for. So it could be in a slightly difficult position. Doesn't quite land the last embrace there. I was hoping to catch Knight with a little bit of additional CC, but still a little roam up from Light through the mid lane.
Yeah, wanted to quickly talk about Light as well. No, we're not going to have a chance to that. On has managed to find himself a Crisp. Way is down there too. Crisp will go down for first blood. He's going to go up to, has to be going up to the Zeri. Going to take him a little while, but he'll take it.
Nice to clean up a couple minions on the way out, but does go down, and first blood going on the way down there. And I wondered whether that flash on the Ornn would be not that high value with the spellbook, but definitely proves to be so far early on.
So BLG get themselves an advantage. Their Light was on the roam on Senna, and that's something which he's done very, very well. Senna has played Light has played 4 games with the Senna this summer. It's 13 KDA, 3-1 on that pick. So he's got 13 KDA even despite one of those being a loss. Given that Weibo have not exactly looked good this summer, stats like that mean even more because in the context of, hang on, this team's not even been winning an awful lot. They've been getting a lot of value out of this Senna. So if Light can continue up that kind of performance that we've seen from him through a lot of this summer and a lot of this year, maybe he can be, much like the first game, much more of a carry threat, much more of a game-winning factor. He's not necessarily been as much of that for this year compared to last. Light was, in a lot of ways, the late-game emergency button for Weibo in 2023. He'd be on Phalios, he'd be on something like that. He's been less of that this year because it's been more about Tarzan and now recently Xiaohu as well, being and Breeze's lane domination. They've changed their style somewhat with the players being changed too, but with Light being there can be very, very powerful. On out with the slow. Chris gets another CC. Well, me and Xiaohu can bring it for him.
We'll make that happen. Gold card on down. This time the TF ult is summoned nice and early. Kill donated over. And the slow was enough at level 4. There's no way out there from On, who has not had flash from basically level 2.
Breathe has exhaust, has himself level 6 coming up quite soon, but I was wondering if Wei would path up there all the same. It's going to be the grubs taken and been waiting to get himself really the Faded Ashes and the Leandry's completion to start making this Cassante's life hellish. I will say that Breathe typically has been very lane dominant. He has not looked like the better top laner between him and Bin so far, so he'll have to prove that once more. This is going to be on text, flashing back into the play. Dragon not being able to be finished by Weibo.
Not. Knight came rolling on down and Wei took 3 grubs.
Wei just got level 6 now after the mini wave, and that changes things. If he was level 5, this changes. Now Wei's here with that big engage ultimate.
And definitely looking for it. Dragon going low will likely be secure, but the double last embrace into the lulting lullaby but could prove difficult. Good Glacial Prism prevents easy follow-up. Xiao is here, but how much damage do they still have? They're stuck in the pit, but the consistent damage right now is more there for BLG, you feel. The last embrace lands. Crystal thinking about setting on forward. The curse to back will go down. Wei trying to get to the backside, as does Knight. Will not secure the kill on a Crisp. On goes forwards. Tarzan, though, continue throughout. Blooming blow after blooming blow. Flash on forward from Light lands. Another last embrace. These hugs are just so miserable to manage. The gold card comes down on Knight, and it turns out it's a timeout. Wei now in danger. No way to go except for the Arctic Assault. Gets it out instead from Elk, who has managed to level up off the minion wave and pick up Tarzan at the end of it all.
Correction, one way out, through the enemy team, through damage. Elk manages to turn around with the damage, and Weibo, they find themselves a bot side skirmish, but they still lose the 3 grubs and the dragon. The objective's not going their way, and they do not quite manage to find that skirmish in complete best case scenario. It's a good ult coming through from Tarzan to get the CC, but it's not followed up on. The damage from the Lilia ultimate isn't actually activated on. You have to proc it, so the CC comes through, but it doesn't really do that much because of kind of the posturing from BLG stopping the follow-up so easily happening. Then a whole bunch of things happen. BLG want to stay in the pit. On doesn't have a way out. That's why they try and stick around. On could potentially, at this point, retreat. I think he makes an over-engage here. That's when the mistake comes through from him. I think he maybe could have just walked out towards bot side as Knight just chooses a delaying action. Then he gets caught out. He has to flash. There's a follow-up gold card, and this is the problem with this team. The follow-up CC is absolutely insane. After this, it's Weibo's turn to overstay. Chris did have that level 6 coming through from that fight. Maybe could have gone towards Elk to force out that flash. He could have maybe positioned that a little better, but Wei was the target, ends up getting away with it.
Elk getting that level 6 off the wave to punish Tarzan as they were looking for that additional kill on Wei. Becomes a little bit problematic. It's a 3-0 TF, though, who got all of the early kills here versus a 2-0 Zeri. Zeri with the lead should always terrify you. We know exactly what this champion can do in the current meta. Is feeling like a real return to her reign of terror from years past. I look back to you last spring and I call out that Zeri meta and the horrors that Ruler and the like were visiting on their opponents. Elk will be trying to do the same here in this game, but of course, Xiaohu on the TF. We saw a TF playing more utility last game. This time around, we'll be looking to be more of an oppressive front.
Yeah, they've switched the role somewhat. Light, of course, on the center, not going to be picking up as much gold as you would normally do on your other more traditional carries. Knight's going to be trying his best to hold down Xiaohu. Knight's had a weird old summer. His spring was not even peak Knight, but it was still Knight. And I think that when he had stuff like the Ari games, you could see exactly what he could do. No, actually, no, I take that back. His spring was really, really good. It was his MSI where we started having more questions about it. When he's gone on to the AD mids, he's had some exceptional games occasionally, but it's not been consistently Knight. I've been surprised that BLG haven't been going more towards his Talir, his Ari again. He lost his Ari win streak against LNG. They tried it before, but I wonder whether that's something that I should go towards again, because BLG don't necessarily look like the same team when Knight isn't on the stuff which he is best at. I think the Yone's been fine. I think it's Tristana has occasionally now been good when he was one of his worst champions. That's growth from him, but you know, the Yone is not what I want to see from Knight. Not really.
Yeah, I think that's fair. He hasn't looked particularly clean on it. Certainly not the best mid laner in the LPL level of it. There are certainly other Yones I'd look at and go, yeah, I'd much rather see you on this champion. But there we are. Light and Crisp have stepped on up towards this top lane for the rolls, but Wei's going to be here, but so is On. Zeri coming on down. Grub 1 secured right now by Wei, throwing out that volcanic rupture. Tarzan begins to blooming blow his way through those grubs. One of them will reset briefly. Wei still here with Knight. Elf looking to trade out onto Light. In comes that TF ult as well. Swell seed onto Wei. Not going to be taken down quite yet as Tarzan. Looking to secure at least one of these. Would need to smite. Holding on to it. Will surely do so shortly. As in the backline goes Wei. Damage onto Crisp. He's taken down. Wei secures the grub as well as Tarzan's being run away. He's so much of the damage. They get a pull back with the Cassante. Lily will secure one of those backers. A big old ultimate from the side of Bin secures another. 2 dead on the side of Weibo Gaming as BLG came everything they came for.
BLG team fighting like the team conflict demands of them, and even though you have Breathe in the fight, you can't pull that exhaust in that fight. You can't get enough value out of that one, and BLG, now they have that early game advantage. And this game, we started off in the early game saying that Weibo, they were the ones on the defensive footing now, and it feels like they have struggled with that. Maybe they can make an offensive play. Crisp teleporting in, has ult. How many other people are roaming to it? Here comes Light and Tarzan.
Here comes out to everyone. There's still that ultimate available from Crisp, as Elk, I think, was knocked out of his wall right by Crisp's charge. Here comes that call of the Forge God. A slow afterwards. Elk has been hunted. It is big game season, and Lilia gets that kill.
Weibo turning him into roadkill, so Elk going down. Weibo pick up some of the kills they lost in that last confrontation. They'll be able to walk up towards this topside turret and take some damage and some plates off of that. On the other side, you can see that Knight is currently jumping forward under that bot lane turret, probably to get some plates of his own, and Weibo firing back. I think both of these teams would rather be on the offensive than the defensive. That's where they've been playing the best. Chris gets caught out first. There is a gold card coming through onto Elk. You can just see that Elk is completely fine to free hit and zone off a lot of the damage. And at this point in the fight, Weibo are trying to play on the defensive, and you see that Light and Xiaohu just can't quite get the damage that they want in the right positions.
Yeah, especially because Tarzan was zoned off by the Sejuani as well. At this point of the game, the Lilia is being required to be a lot of the team DPS, and then this one, Xiaohu just sticking around, and they overplay for this turret.
I mean, you'd forgive BLG for thinking they're on strong side, but then they don't have Salapos in this early lanes. They have Knight in bot lane, they have Bin in mid lane, and they overstay it. Suddenly it's a 3v4, which they didn't expect. Ult under mid tower, that is a dead Xiaohu. Now he's on the weak side.
And that was a shutdown as well. I think he was 4-0, even if he's behind in CS. So big kill coming on over Dragon. About to be secured, is done so. Tarzan steps forward to get the blooming blow across both the jungler and the Dragon. On now in danger. Tarzan has a flash, will use it to get over the wall, throws out a spell team that goes wide. 4v1 means Breathe has nowhere to go, and Breathe is last.
Tarzan manages to get that dragon. Quite bold to stick around in the river that long. Breathe dies for the dragon attempt, but Weibo do manage to stop BLG getting 2 dragons, which is important. Is that as we go later into the game, Weibo can maybe look to split the map rather than focus down on those objectives. While all of this has been happening through all of the ins and outs, BLG have been getting way better access to towers, and they have those 5 grubs. So it's much easier for them to get value out of those cross maps as well. I think in this game, this is a great example, folks, if you watch from other regions, if you want to learn how we play League of Legends here in the LPL. Something which I do sometimes see missing from some other regions is just that real precise cross map. When you see these plays, when there's a big fight, look what's happening on the other lanes. Well, look what's happening in terms of the value of that. When you have multiple grubs, cross maps get so much easier because you can immediately take down turrets when you're given access to them. And you can see from BLG, as soon as they see Weibo kind of overextend finally, they get themselves into a point where they're getting more value across the board.
I think they got 4 plates made and both turrets and side lanes with all of those plates before they fell as well. So a huge amount of gold. They are up nearly 5,000 gold early on in this game. It's huge for BLG, and it feels like Weibo haven't even been playing that poorly in terms of getting kills and stuff, but this is rough. Light's in danger, forced to flash away. We'll get a decent chunk here on Knight, but he got a Dawning Shadow to stay alive from the E-proc.
45 HP.
So.
45 HP before the shield came in. Light very, very lucky to get away with that one. And his Senna currently, 3-1 in summer, very successful through the year. 13 KDA. Not really being able to pull off the plays which he would like to so far. He's having to play defensively, and the Senna doesn't really want to be playing this defensively. Senna wants to be a lane bully, getting those cell stacks where you can. It's not, I mean, at 50 souls at 15 minutes is it's not really where you want that to be at all. You want that to be a little bit higher. It's not the worst it could be, but Weibo, they have themselves aggressive tools. They have been locked out from using them, and now with a hugely fed cannon who's currently in this brush, Weibo needs to be very, very afraid on the side lanes for this Yone, for the cannon.
Oh, he's stuck around.
And he's stuck around. Yes, Tarzan's on the same side of the map, but what happens if Wei comes up first?
They're all coming. Tarzan's here. Doesn't reset yet. Here comes BLG. Xiao, who's in danger. Has a flash and a ghost trying to get out, but he's CC'd. Dead to right. Bin sticks around, gets the kill.
And Xiao, who stays too long, Bin uses, he just continually channels that enhanced recall and says, well, am I going to go back? No, 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 get the kill. And they suddenly find themselves, again, in a better map state. While this is happening, Yone is pushing up bot lane. They get to go recover this mid lane too. BLG are playing the wider map much better, and then Knight uses that side lane push to potentially look for a play.
Bait sealed on too. Big damage onto Light, who has no flash, no ult, no dream of getting on out of this one. The rest of BLG are here. Knight gets a second, and BLG are just pummeling this game.
DLG, they find themselves on the front foot with go buttons, and that is exactly what they are good at using. Herald now into the mid lane. They have 5 grubs. Chris probably shouldn't be here either. Just about gets out of that combo. Not going to walk forwards anyway. Take a chunk, and he'll make return for the tower gold as well. BLG might have just overextended in the top lane, though.
Big chunk back onto Xiaohu, though. Bin having none of that. I'm going to slicing Maelstrom down. Will not quite get the kill. Here come the rest of Knight, though. Or the BLG with Knight involved alongside Elf. To punish that collapse, they will get 2 onto Zeri. But the temerity of shutting Bin down.
First game was back and forth. This one has been back. There is no fourth. We have not been able to punch back nearly enough. They managed to get, what, 1 play around that mid top lane out of turret when BLG overstayed a little themselves. But on the whole, this has just been absolute drubbing from BLG. They've got themselves to huge items now. The Shadow Flame on Kennen makes it even more powerful prospect for him getting into the fight. I love how Knight opens up with the ult here. You could go in with the E first. I think we typically see Yone's open up with that E a bit more because it gives you that get out of jail free card very early. He uses that ult to get in first, and then he uses the E afterwards. The exhaust goes onto him, but the CC's been enough at that point.
And then Bin stays in this top side, and they look to punish, but he buys enough time, and BLG at this point are so fast to move that the kill takes too long.
Yeah, it's a kill onto the cannon. You blow his ultimate, but at the same time, you've taken too long, and this is the problem when you're playing behind in the game. Everything you do takes too long. Everything takes a little bit longer. Finding those opportunities is not just about finding whether you can kill them, it's whether you can kill them and get away with it. And in that case, they couldn't.
No, they couldn't. Now you got a 6-1 Zeri, the 4-1 Yone. Yes, you shut the cannon down, but he's 3,000 gold ahead individually. It is getting worse and worse here for Weibo Gaming, who are really struggling to play out this game.
Yeah, so, Weibo, they go in under the... Well, they are caught under the turret. Chris chunked out to halfway, using his ultimate, not getting huge value, but Chris Not
Ow.
able really to respond. He'll have to recall, maybe have to teleport back to a play. Dragon has spawned. He would have to do that to contest this.
He's got a teleport ward. I think it'd be a bit bold going in by himself right now. He might have to give it up. It'll only be second dragon anyway, so is it really worth contesting for and throwing a game even further down the hole if it goes wrong?
This is what BLG sort of banked on when they had that second dragon take. Remember when Breathe died to allow Tarzan to take that dragon? This is what it allowed, because this would have been soul point. That you know, getting that at before 19 minutes, that's kind of game ending, because for the rest of the game you're playing catch up against a team which has more gold than you, has the macro options for you, and you can't afford to give up dragons at that point. You can't choose to give that up. Now Weibo could choose to give this one up, so they have that kind of a little bit of a safety net. It's fast evaporating, but it was there to say that at least at the same time. So Weibo trying to claw back what they can. Their objective bounties on the other side, maybe they can get one of them. They don't have a turret just yet. They have a couple of kills and they have the grubs. They're not completely knocked out of the game, but still not a good look for them. They'll try and get Breathe that objective bounty in the side lane.
Senna's finally completed her first item after the Blood Razor. The Ghost Blade in. Maybe that move speed will be enough. But Weibo Gaming, they need to play a very defensive game at this point. Breathe will get a hold of this turret bounty. Xiaohu's just hanging out behind him in case someone decides to collapse. And the rest of Weibo spot out BLG, trying to rotate through the river. We'll finally get that bounty. Claim that first turret of the game for themselves at 20 minutes in the game.
And again, just checking with Light's cell stacks, really, really low. Light's not been able to hit enemy champions. Normally you want to be sat in extended laning phases, poking down someone like the Alistair, just getting the double tap to get those extra souls, sticking around in lanes. But they've had to play so defensively against now the flanks of Knight and Bin and the full frontal engage of Onway as well, that it's been very hard to stand anywhere to get value out of that. He's going to hit soul like 100 souls, which is, you know, one of the big breakpoints you look for. I don't know, 25, 26 minutes, something more than that. It's going to be really late. And by that time, the fight might have just been determined. Xiaohu pops that ult to spot out the flank Bin port.
He could be in serious danger. Will have the ability to get away. Is forced to flash out, and that's potentially a big moment. Teleport option is there from Knight. Would have been spotted out. They know he's there. Breathe on the other side. Remember, no flash. Will have a footwork and a W to work with, but I think he's already used some. Goes all out, knowing he's pretty much dead to rights again, and goes down. There's Baron alive and a member dead for Breathe. They can just turn over the wall and look at it. Yeah,
Breathe's not there. He can teleport back into 30 seconds, but that will be far too long. Weibo, they don't have their own ult. They have the Senna ult and they have the Lily ult. That's what they got to play with. And while all this is happening, Knight still has his ult. Bin still has his ult. They are not safe.
Throws the bowling ball, but it is a spare. BLG split up. Bin's still on a flank. On can look to come over the wall as well. Look for him to try and get on in here. Crisp will try to searing charge away. Light flashes on now, but On still gets in the back line. And Zeri electrocutes them all. Shows Kennen exactly how it's done.
Danger, high voltage. Elk turns on the power as On flips the switch. Weibo, they get comboed as they try and retreat. They can't get themselves toward that Baron safely. There are too many flanking threats. It could have been the solo laners. This time it's the big old cow from the support role. And that should be the killer blow in this game.
Did you get that message? Because I think I did. A big piece of paper saying certified Zeri moment. Posted globally there. Fantastic move to ensure that that Baron turn is deadly.
And just when you think you've seen the solo laners, you think, oh, the flank isn't there. He minion taxis onto Light, flashes beyond it for the two-man pole, onto two squishy members, and Elk just shreds them. The on switch is firmly in that position now. No off
Glued
today.
down.
It has been glued down. Made out of Lilia hoof.
That's grim. What, bro?
It's glue made of horse hoof. It's not horse hoof. I mean, so no, it's out of the hooves.
You know what? I don't know all of the details of how one makes glue out of various animals, but right now I'm gonna instead look at On being chunked low, but not down. Gold card comes on through, and Tarzan trying his very best to be scary. Doesn't really get that much value there. On stays alive. Will have, I believe, a Warmogs at this point, so won't even stay all that low HP for that long.
Yeah, there it is, starts ticking up. So BLG start pushing in yet again. They don't have flash on Bin, but they don't think they particularly care. They have teleport on him, so he can go across the map as he wishes. Breathe will get himself another objective bounty in that sideline, but it feels so little, so late. BLG just starting to crush down the base.
Doing that. Bin did get hit by the last embrace. On steps on forward with a headbutt, will not pulverize. Way Arctic assaulting in, gets hit with the gold card. Needs to be a bit afraid here as he gets knocked up. But the turnaround from Elk is foul. Shower down to about 20% HP is deleted in a matter of seconds. This Zeri is so threatening. You can chunk out the front line, but with no threat onto the likes of this Zeri, she is free to melt whoever she so much as looks at.
And this Elk Zeri has been such a key part of the damage wave, but they can't deal with the flanks, they can't deal with the carries. Tarzan's throwing in bowling balls towards his own base. He's trying to find something, but he doesn't even have ults.
Call of the Forge God comes across. Tarzan looking to get into the back line, but the last Nexus turret falls, and Knight will pull a Fate Sealed out, and they were woken up in game 1. They were made angry. This is the BLG that ran Spring in the LPL, and they are sprinting towards a game 2 victory in a domination you rarely see in League of Legends. We're going to game 3.
Weibo had a strong game 1 showing, but BLG are not to be underestimated. We're gearing ourselves to a game 3 on our first series of the day, and BLG, it is good to know that they haven't completely lost the plot. They've had some difficult series recently. We haven't necessarily seen the best of this team, but in this game, that felt like vintage BLG, despite the fact that they're playing with a different jungler. Hello, welcome back. I'm Nymaera, also known as Alex. This is my brother. Yes, we're brothers. Sam, also known as Initialise.
Hello.
We cast League of Legends. We cast the LPL when there is no official English broadcast on Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday, because the LPL still has games every day of the week. We've now covered 150 games from this year, so if you ever feel like there is a game missing somewhere, it might just be here on our channel as well. We hope you're enjoying yourselves, and keep settled in. We have one more game here to go in the series after.
Yeah, I do. We're NAP, so it's in Shenzhen, so we might end up with a
Shenzhen, not Shenzhen.
I think I see Zen and go Zen, but yeah, Shenzhen.
But it's Shenzhen.
So you don't need an H
ZH.
after that?
Yes, it is. It does have yeah.
Who doesn't?
Oh, sorry, no. I believe it's I believe it has a Anyway, right, yeah, I believe it's Shenzhen.
I don't know. Someone who speaks Mandarin